Hello, I'm Father Robert Spitzer, President of the Magis Center of Reason and Faith. Many of you are aware of a disturbing trend that's been going on over the last 25 years. In recent polling, many of our young people have reported that they were church-going in their high school years, and 40% of them will declare themselves to be non-believers by the time they graduate from college. This is more serious than simply declaring themselves non-practicing Catholics, because then perhaps we could say that the reason was the relevancy of the Mass or religion, or perhaps a phase they're going through in their adolescence. But no, they're really declaring themselves non-believers, which means that if we trace it back far enough, it gets back to a disconnect between faith and reason. Many of our young people equate reason with science. And so there's almost a disconnect between faith and science. And the research indicates that this is in fact the case. Our young people somehow think that science has contradicted our faith, or that if you are truly a scientist or inclined towards science, you really can't have religion or be faith-filled because they're so mutually opposed. The new atheism promulgated by Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens and others certainly seems to fan these flames. And so we are confronted as a church with a real problem. Here at the Magis Center, we're trying to redress that problem of reason and faith, or science and faith, by beginning with our high school students, because we're convinced that the problem really begins in earnest in the 9th grade. And we would like to reach as many students as possible in every confirmation program that we can, and in every Catholic high school religion class or science class. We would like to reach them with a curriculum that shows something quite different. Ironically, this trend is occurring at the very time when it's absolutely the best time to be living for evidence from science for faith. This is the very best time to affirm scientifically the existence of a creator or an intelligent God. Today, we have more evidence for a beginning of our universe, or any speculative multiverse in which it might be situated. Evidence from space-time geometry proofs, like the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth theorem. Evidence from the second law of thermodynamics, entropy. Evidence from fine-tuning of the anthropic constants of our universe. And all of these things, it sounds like a bunch of big words, I know, but all of these things lead inexorably to the notion of a creation by a super powerful, super intelligent, transcendent deity. And that evidence, our kids deserve to know it. Our kids need some ammunition so that they can actually defend their faith to themselves and then to others. Now, I know these words sound big, but believe it or not, we have created a 5-part curriculum. This curriculum is approximately 35 minutes each, perhaps 40 minutes. And each one of these parts details some of this evidence, putting the evidence into a form that is age-appropriate and capable of being understood by a 9th grade audience that has only basic familiarity with science and scientific method. What we've done is we've framed each of the 5 parts into a narrative. And in the narrative we have a person by the name of Joe, presented by a young actor who is just going to college, discovers a roommate there by the name of Tyler, who's an adamant atheist and is really pounding on him on a blog, and he's almost powerless to respond to Tyler because he just hasn't been equipped for it. He doesn't have any resources for it. And so he finds at a Catholic Student Center Dan, a PhD candidate in physics, and Elena, a PhD candidate in philosophy, who help him to resolve in the 5 parts the problems. They go through the evidence for a beginning of the universe, the evidence for the fine-tuning of cosmic constants and the anthropic coincidences. They go through all kinds of problems like how do you reconcile the Bible with science and evolution? How do you deal with that? And how do you deal with it in the Bible and in science? And finally, even aliens, what do we do with them at the end of the day? So we take all of these various areas and we discuss it in the context of a dialogue, a drama as it were, as Joe begins to work out this relationship with Tyler and tries to be able to respond to him in an intelligent and scientific way with the latest cutting-edge evidence. The method that we're using is adapted for religion teachers to teach this in confirmation programs and in high schools. So it doesn't have to be a science teacher or a teacher who is equipped with a scientific method or understands the evidence in a very principled way. What we're going to make available through the Magis Center is an online forum. And anyone who has actually seen the course, faculty members, students, etc., can actually get on this online forum where PhDs in physics and philosophy will be able to answer questions along with high school teachers in the sciences, will be able to answer questions that the students have. We'll be able to moderate discussions. So they'll have 3 parts really on the forum. One for getting direct questions answered, one for discussion of the content and the material, and even one that more or less is a social discussion area where Catholic students can interact with one another across the nation and Canada. Our objective in doing this then is to allow the greatest number of people to be able to teach this course. We'll have a workbook with all kinds of exercises and answers in it that will help religion teachers to teach the course. But above all, what we want to do is give our students the latest and greatest, very good scientific evidence based on a book that I have written, New Proofs for the Existence of God from Contemporary Physics and Philosophy that Erdman's has published, and also a series of other books and articles that have been written reduced to an age-appropriate and almost fun way of looking at this material for our high school students. At the end of the day, we want to equip them with all that they need. And of course, once the course is finished, their questions are answered, they can continue to stay on the forum. We have a website that is fully developed with resources that they can share with their colleagues, their friends, and other people where perhaps they're not feeling confident enough to give answers to these people within the curriculum, but they could show the students these resources and materials and help to develop a dialogue between science and faith, between reason and faith. And hopefully this will help to stem the tide of this growing non-belief within our culture, a growing non-belief which we consider to be completely inappropriate to the evidence that's available today, a growing disbelief that for all intents and purposes can be mitigated with the right evidence, the right spirit, the right vehicles. Please contact us at www.magis, M-A-G-I-S, reasonfaith.org. Thank you so much for your attention.